Tito Capote, and we're back after a long time with actually a deck profile for one of my favorite decks. I'm gonna be cutting back, hopefully, videos to once a week from now on instead of like skipping a bunch of time. I've just been really busy, but I'm gonna try for the once a week. I mean, I know I've said it in the past, but I'm gonna try my best. It's been really hard. I have 3 jobs now, and they take up a lot of time, so I'm gonna do my best to find time to make videos because I do like making videos. And I know you guys, like, some of you are like, yeah, let's go, Tito Capote. So, but anyway, right now we're going to be doing a Purrely deck profile. So in this video, I'm going to go over what the deck does. I'm going to go over what the cards do. I'm going to go over why the card choices are the way they are. If you want to build the deck, great. If you just want an information section about the deck, skip to the end of the video because I feel like a lot of people don't know what the deck does. And if you do, then, like, you don't really know how the deck's going to play going forward, or like what people are going to do with it. But I'm going to do a test hand at the end of the video, and I'm going to do a quick little deck profile and just show you how the deck is going to be built most of the time, at least this going starting at like the new format, because the OCG has had the deck for a while, but the OCG format is a lot different than the TCG format. A lot of things end up being different. The ban list is always going to be different, and with the upcoming ban list, until then we don't really know what's going to be the best deck. I think Kashtira has a good matchup against Purrely. But again, Purrely is kind of just really good, which is great because I got the deck for pennies. I just wanted a homage to my little cute kitty, my little Ava. I'll put a video of her at the end of the video. But for now, let's get into the little deck profile portion. And here I'll explain what the decks, what the cards do and why I chose that many of the cards. So first, let's get into it. First, I think the most important of the little monsters is Plump. You can play this at 3, but I think 2 is enough. If Kashtira gets rid of it, fine, but you don't really need it. But I might play 3 of this. I just don't know yet. So what it does is you can target when it's on the field as a quick effect, target 2 spells in the either graveyard, and attach them as material. Usually they're going to be a quick plays that you use, but it also has all the Purrely XC's little monsters have an effect where if you activate a quick play spell, you can activate an effect and then attach the quick play to material, or attach the quick play as material to the card and then activate the effect if you want, right? So this one is you can target one of your opponent's monsters on the you can non-targeting banish one of your opponent's monsters on the field until the end phase, and then just attach the card to the material. So this is how you get into your monsters, how you get more effects on your monsters, and how you clear the field to go in for a game, which is just really funny. So that's Plump. Then we have one copy of Happiness and one copy of each of the Happinesses. So here we have the little E Purrely and we have the X Purrely. So E Purrely, what it does is if this card battled, you can add 1 Purrely card from your deck to your hand. Also, if it has Purrely Happy Memory in the material, once per turn you can have the attack of one of your opponent's monsters, and up to thrice per turn, when you activate a Purrely quick play spell, you can attach that card to the field as material and return 1 spell trap card your opponent controls. So usually, if they goes and match you, this is basically the only thing you can go into. If you have the Purrely on the field, and then you just bounce it when you activate a quick play, attach the material, and then bounce it. It's just that's how you get rid of floodgates. And this thing is the OTK machine. You can also rank up with onto a rank 2 monster you control with 5 or more materials, and then you can detach 1 material from this card, and you get it's a Dark Ruler no more basically. And then if it has a level 1 Purrely as material, it can attack. And you attack, it just does 15 damage. And usually when you, Happy Memory is the one that lets you attack multiple times, so you just do a bunch of attacks and you just burn and do damage. This isn't really, I think, the main goal of the deck. It's a nice option, but I'm only playing one of them because I think it's not really what the deck is trying to do. But you can gear your deck towards an OTK strategy if you want. It does really work well with Plump and with Beauty and with everything that you have. So it's interesting. You know, the deck has a lot of options, which is always a good thing. Then we have Beauty. Beauty, what it does is basically when it's on the field as a quick effect, you can imperm, and then it has the effect when you activate a quick play spell, you can you can attach as material, and if you want, you can change the battle position of one of your opponent's monsters. But And all of these have gain different effects depending on the quick play spells attached to them. That's the like main thing of Purrely. They gain effects depending on which quick play spells are attached. Well, I already said that. Sorry, but it makes for really really annoying deck. I'll admit it. It's a pretty annoying deck to play against, especially because of this card, which is the main boss monster of the deck, and what I think is going to be the main strategy of the deck, which is what I geared my deck towards. So here we have, you can see same thing as happiness. This card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects while it has 5 or more materials. And if you, that means no Dark Ruler, no more. Anything. Basically, the only thing that can affect this is either a kaiju, a lava golem, or something that makes it so that you, the player, has to take an action, such as evenly matched, such as there's this one Xyz spell card that makes you detach materials from your Xyz monster that was used during Rongo Miniad format. Although I think, at least in the beginning, the way I geared my deck towards, I think people are going to be using kaijus and stuff like that in the format more than they are other cards. Just because looking at how prices are going, Santa Claus has gone up, Kaiju's has gone up, but the Xyz card hasn't really gone up because people in the OCG are using those instead because they think, hey, this is going to be interesting. But I think that's where, and that's sort of how I teched out my deck to sort of play around that sort of. And then this also has the effect where you can detach 2 materials, target 1 card in the graveyard or on your opponent or that your opponent controls, place it on the bottom of the deck, which is crazy. And it's a quick effect if you have a level 1 Purrely as material, which you always do because why wouldn't you? That's just the deck. Then we have Downerd and Zeus because why wouldn't you? You can make Zeus with 50 billion materials, and we have the tech cards. This is supposed to be Assembled Nightingale, which what it does is that it can attack directly, and for each material attached to it, it can attack 1 more time, and it gains, I think, 200 more attack, which is fine. And then it has the effect where you can detach a material to make it unaffected by card effects, or I think unaffected by card effects, or can't be destroyed by card effects or something, I don't know. But it does that. It's basically just make Zeus. Sylvan Princess Sprite, this and the third Noir, I think, are flex spots in the deck, at least for right now. This is what I could think of. This is just, you can summon so many monsters and you don't really need all of them all the time. So just digging for an extra like quick play that you actually want on your monster, or like an extra material on one of your monsters when you can't really get there. Say you've been like drolled or something, or you want to get something in the graveyard, such as a Purrely or something. Just it's nice sometimes. It's a nice option to have. I don't think it's that good, but I couldn't really think of any other level 1 type things. I mean, maybe Lingeribo if people are going to be like Ibly locking you. But honestly, I'd say go for take this, and if you want to take the third Noir out for another happiness, then I'd play one of each of the happiness more. Then we have Anima. This has come up. Oh my gosh, this has come up so many times for me where they make Baguska or something, and I just steal it with Anima, and I'm like, yeah, let's go, and then just keep going with your turn like nothing happened. Because people aren't really paying attention to Anima. They will later on when people actually start using this, and yeah, and they'll pay attention to it, but people are down to forget sometimes, And then this is just a good tech card, just because if you if you have a bunch of extra Purrely monsters and no quick plays, no Purrelys, you can just make this, and it's like, hey, it bounces. And it doesn't really matter that you have your Purrelys under stuff because you can always shuffle it back with a trap card. And then let's get into the main deck, shall we? So, first we have 3 of the namesake monster of the deck, Purrely. So what this does is when it's normal or special summon, you can look at the top 3 cards and take a Purrely spell or trap card from there and add it to your hand. And once per turn during your main phase, you can basically you can go into an Xyz monster using a quick play spell from your hand. You do not have to reveal the quick play spell that you are using until you resolve the effect. So when you do it, that's when you show which one you're going into. But before that, your opponent doesn't have to know which one you're going into. And you don't say which Xyz monster you're going into. You just do it. And Using this card you control as material, and that's basically all Purrely does. But that's enough because another thing you have to notice, and some people have told me otherwise, but they're dumb, so don't pay attention to them. None of the effects in Purrely, none of the extra deck monsters, none of the main deck monsters, none of the main deck spell cards, except for my friend Purrely, are once per turn. These are not even soft once per turns. They are just once per turns. The quick play spells, the effects that they give your card are once per turn, but they are soft once per turn. So for each copy of the card that you have equipped, you can use it one more time. So that's Purrely. Then we have Purrely. This is some of the new support that the deck got in the newest set, Syac, or cybernetic access. I don't know, whatever the deck, whatever the flipping set name is, but it's super cute. I love it. Anyway, what it does is when it's normal special summon, you can add one Purrely card from your deck to your hand, except a quick play spell. So that includes Purrely, that includes my friend Purrely, and that includes the field spell or the Purrleap, which is just really good. And then you can target one Purrely quick play spell in your graveyard, special summon an Xyz monster from your extra deck that mentions that card, using this card you control as material, and attach that spell to the summon monster. So this one does have to target, so your opponent is going to know which one you're going to go into, but it doesn't matter because this gave the deck something that it really needed, a way to recoup advantage. So all the quick place cards discard a card to summon a Purrely from deck, and this makes it so no matter what you discard, you can go into the one that you want, because like if you don't want to go into it using Purrely, you can go into it using Purrely, using it from the graveyard, right? So it makes it just a lot more consistent, a lot more easier. It makes it so even if you don't have any of the quick plays left in deck, you can still go into Plump, you can still go into whatever you need. It's just really good. And again, not once per turn, because why would it be in 2022? Now let's go into the hand traps that we're using. So we have 3 Drone Lockbird. I think this card is going to be essential for going against Purrely, for going against Kashtira, for going against all the new decks in the format, Super Heavy Samurai, Dragon Link even, Branded. This card is going to be really good against all of those decks, and having it in the main deck is going to be essential, especially since your opponent, like, if you mirror match Purrely, it's going to be like, damn. So it's just crazy, you know? Then we have 3 Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is just generically good. It's just a really good card. It can stop if your opponent bricks, then it just stops them. Or if your opponent, like, it slows them down at least. Or if you're playing anything besides Purrely, it's just a good card. And against rogue decks, like, Ash is great. Then I opted to go for 2 Ghost Ogre instead of 3 Ghost Ogre, because Ghost Ogre is going to be a really good card against Super Heavy Samurai, against Purrely, against Kashtira. Kashtira less so, but actually no, it's still good against Kashtira. But Ghost Ogre, I opted to go for another card in the main deck, which I'm going to go over after. But Ghost Ogre, what it does, it's just, it pops the card. Basically, it stops them from using the continuous spell card. It stops them from using the field spell. It stops them from using the monster. It's good. I'm not really going to go over the hand traps, because for those of you who don't know hand traps or just getting into it, you can read cards. Sorry, that sounded mean, but like I feel like this video is going to be long enough without me having to explain hand traps, which is fine. Then here we go with one of the reasons why the deck is so powerful, which is Purrely Stray Street, or whatever, Stray Purrely Street. So what this does is your opponent cannot target Purrely monsters at the turn they are special summoned, which is crazy. But also what it does is it attaches a quick play spell from your deck to your Xyz monster as material once per turn. During the end phase, during your end phase, and during your opponent's end phase. So if you have a card that you don't have under your monster that you want to have during your end phase, you can just do it. You can make your guy bigger by use Delicious Memory. You can make it steal something with Pretty Memory. You can make it attack more with, or you can just attack to Sleepy Memory to make another draw, which I'm gonna go over when we get to the quick plays. But for now, let's just keep going. Then we have 3 My Friend Purrelys. So what this does is you can you can activate it first, and then activate the effect to pay 500 life points, reveal 3 Purrely cards, any Purrely cards except my friend Purrely, and your opponent randomly chooses one and adds it. Usually at the beginning of the game, this is just a search for any of the cards that you need that you don't have, because you usually have 3 copies of them in hand, or you already have one in hand, which in that case, you're probably not searching for it. And then, oh, I also forgot. When a Purrely Xyz monster leaves the field by your opponent's card, you can summon a Purrely from graveyard. And then this one, when your Xyz monster leaves the field because of your opponent's card, what you can do is you can put 3 quick play spells from your graveyard back into your hand. Which is insane. It's so stupid. That basically means that you can do the same thing next turn, which is just silly. You can go into another Noir next turn, you can go into something else, you can go for the OTK, you can just do whatever. Then, now let's go into the Purrely Quick Plays. The Purrely Quick Plays are a little bit more, they're weird cards. So, all of them have one effect which activates when that happens on activation. All of them have one effect that happens on resolution, and all of them have one effect that happens when they're attached to a monster. Now, the first and third effects are all different. But the second effect, which is on resolution, is always going to be you can discard 1 card to special summon 1 Purrely monster from your field. Now that happens at resolution, so that means when you activate it, all you have to do is say, or all you have to basically reveal that you're doing is just activate the card and target your thing or resolve the effect, right? And your opponent has to decide whether they're doing anything there. And if they don't, then at resolution, so after the effect is done and after everything is done, you can discard a card to summon a Purrely from it. Now, most people know this, but for those of you who don't, that's really important because your opponent doesn't have to tell you if they're discarding or not. And that can be really tricky, especially if the person's doesn't want to tell you because they're playing ooh, competitive and lame. Well, it's competitive, but you gotta be a nice guy. Don't be a jerk. If your opponent doesn't want to tell you, then you gotta know, right? So this is what this video is for. It's everything you need to know about Purrely. Then you can discard 1 card, and if you do, special summon 1 level 1 Purrely monster from your deck, which is the thing. But on activation, what this does is it targets 1 card in the field, and the first time it would be destroyed, it is not destroyed until the end of the next turn. So not your turn, not the turn that you activated it, but the next one. So if you activate during your turn, it'd be your opponent's turn. If you activate during your opponent's turn, it would be your turn. And its effect when it's attached to the Xyz monster. So let's say we have a Plump. It gains the effect where it can attack 1 more time for each Purrely Happy Memory attached to it. I'm just going to have this on the field just to explain the cards. Then we have a Purrely Pretty Memory. This used to be the starter, or the best starter when before the new cards, but now it's Happy Memory because that card's just silly. What this card does is on activation, we both players gain 1,000 life points, and when it's attached to the monster, you can send 1 other card you control to the graveyard, and then choose target 1 card your opponent controls and attach it to the Xyz monster as material. So if your opponent has a stupid floodgate like Gozen Match, which is really good against, well, it's okay against this deck. If they Gozen Match your Plump, you could just activate the Pretty Memory, or activate Plump, attach Pretty Memory, and attach the Gozen Match as material, and then it's you can do that. It's a thing that you can do, and I think that's crazy. But that's what Pretty Memory does. Then we have Delicious Memory. Now this gives your card an effect, but it doesn't give it an effect. It's weird. I'll explain. So first, it chooses 1 monster on the field until the end of the next turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Then after choosing a card, you can do the thing. And when it's attached to a monster as material, it gains 300 attack for every material attached to it. Now, one thing about the Purrely Quick Play spell cards is that they stack. So for each Delicious Memory you have, you gain another 300 attack. So if you have 2, you gain 600 attack for each material. If you have 3, you gain 900 attack for each material. Now it's the same thing with it's not the same thing with the Pretty Memory, sorry, because it does say once per turn. But that means that for if each monster that you have has a Pretty Memory attached to it, then each monster can activate that effect, right? It does send instead of destroy, so it the destruction protection from Happy Memory doesn't really matter when you're trying to do the pretty memory thing, but it's whatever. This one is just really good for making your noir huge. I've gotten my noir up to like 11,000, which is a lot. Then we have another new card that makes this deck extremely good because for those of you who don't know, in Yu-Gi-Oh, drawing cards is really powerful. And what this card does is it has one effect. The on-activation effect doesn't really matter. All that it matters is that you can activate it without a card in the field, which is good. It's what you wanted. It's why it's a good starter. So what it does is the next battle or effect damage you would take this turn becomes 0. Also, you can do the Purrely thing. And when it's attached to your monster, you can activate the once per turn for each card. So sorry, the pretty memory would do for each copy you can use that effect once per turn. So for each card attached to it during your opponent's standby, during your opponent's standby phase, sorry, you draw a card. So if you have 3, you would draw 3 cards. Now, there's an interaction where you can activate this effect on Plump, and then use the per leap card to rank up into Noir, and then do it again to draw 6 cards. Now, I don't think that's the best move because it loses to Gamma. It loses to a lot of things. It loses to Ghost Ogre. But actually, it doesn't lose to those things, but it's just, I think it's a less safe option because if they do have something to do, I think it's just safe to go into Noir first, but this is the draw card. It's crazy. Then we have one Called by the Grave because we do care about if your opponent Droll and Lockbirds you. Then we have 2 Triple Tactics Talent. This format, everyone's going to be activating cards during their opponent's turn. There's no way they aren't. Then we have 1 Monster Reborn because it's just a crazy extender. None of the cards are once per turn, and you can just keep going and going. That card is basically full combo. Then Per Leap, what this card does is target 1 Purrely Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck 1 Purrely Xyz monster with a different rank by using that target as material, but to return to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. It's treated as a C summon, and you transfer the materials. And in the graveyard, which I think is the more important effect, is you can shuffle back up to 3 Purrely monsters from your graveyard into your deck by banishing this card. And then we get into the reason why I cut down on Ghost Ogre. So, Ghost Ogre is fine, but I think a lot of people are going to be using Kaijus. A lot of people are going to be main decking Kaijus, which sucks. But as you can see, all the extra deck monsters that you care about, all the little puppies, all the little guys, all the little kitties, they're all fairies, which means you don't care about Rivalry, but every other deck like in the format does care about Rivalry, except I guess Super Heavy Samurai, but you don't care about Super Heavy Samurai. You care about Kashtira, and Kashtira does care about Rivalry. But the other thing that cares about Rivalry is Kaijus, because if you have a fairy monster on the field, you can't summon a Kaiju to your side of the field, which is cool. But also, to my knowledge, there is no fairy kaiju. A lot of people are using Santa Claus because it works under Gozen match, I think. But or I don't know what it works under. It's some niche. I don't remember. Oh, because it works under the little turtle thing that Sprite's using. That makes it so you can't summon monsters with 1800 or more attack. That doesn't hurt you, of course, but it's just people are doing it, so that's why they're using Santa Claus instead of Kaijus. But Santa Claus is a fiend. Lava Golem's a fiend. Gamma Seal is an Aqua, I think. And all the other Kaijus are either insect, machine, or dinosaur. So you don't really have a Kaiju that can work under Rivalry, and I think that's going to be most people's outs to this deck. To the Noir. So I think the safest bet is to try to play around that instead of trying to play around other things like other things. I think just main decking 3 is enough to, a lot of the time you're going to draw into it with other things and they can't kaiju you, which is going to be great. Is how the deck is going to play off a normal hand, whether it be brick, whether it be whatever. I'm going to show you guys how to play, and I'm also going to show you guys what the deck aims to do and what the deck can do. I'm also after this going to go into strategies, which each of the different like different plays that you can do, different things that you can do during each turn. Also, what you should do and what you shouldn't do against or while you're playing Purrely. Or what I think. This is all my opinion, right? But I don't know. I think I'm a decent player. I might be wrong. I might suck, but I'm okay. I'm not the worst. But anyway, let's get into this. Let's cut our deck because why wouldn't we? Everyone cut the deck. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what we got. We got one happy memory, one Purrely, one Purrely, and one delicious memory. So what I am going to do here is I am going to activate delicious memory. And actually, we can't activate delicious memory. What you're going to do is we're going to activate Purrely pretty memory. We're going to gain 1,000 life points. Then at resolution, we're going to pitch the Purrely. Then with the Purrely, we are going to get another Purrely. We are going to get another Purrely. Now, with that, we're going to activate the effect. We're going to cut our deck, and we're going to reveal top 3. So that is going to be Droll, that is going to be Sleepy Memory, and that is going to be Delicious Memory. We're going to take the Sleepy Memory because that's a really good card. And then the other cards go to the bottom of the deck because that is what Purrely does. Then what we're going to do is we're going to normal summon Purrely. Purrely is going to activate its effect to search us the field spell. Honestly, I should have done the Purrely effect first, but just so I could get the targeting protection for the Purrely, but that's okay. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Purrely effect to go into Plump, and we're going to activate we are going to we're going to activate our happy memory, or no, we're going to activate our happy memory, target our field spell so it can't be destroyed the next turn, and then on resolution, we're going to, and activate Plump to equip it. Then at resolution, we're going to pitch that and summon another Purrely. Now, we don't want to summon Purrely with this because, do we want to summon Purrely? Yeah, you know what? No, we want to summon Purrely because Purrely's not once per turn, but Purrely is once per turn, sorry. Then we go into, we cut our deck and do another 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to grab the Purrely because we can actually do stuff with this. But now we are going to activate Plump, equip these 2, and we are going to Xyz into our Ensemble Robin. Now, if you see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 materials on our Plump. So that means we can level up into Noir. So here we have 2 options. We can either go for the draw, we're going to get another Sleepy Memory onto Purrely, onto Plump during the end phase. So we can either decide whether we want to draw 4 cards or draw 2 cards. Honestly, there's not really any reason why we want to go for the 2 because well, I'll show you right now. So on end step, we're going to go into, this is not in the field. On end step, we are going to attach a Sleepy Memory. We're going to attach a Sleepy Memory and then go. During their draw phase, we are going to see if we have any spells in the grave. We do not. And then we are going to go, during their standby phase, activate their effect to draw 2 cards. Now, let's say they Ghost Spell or they Gamma. Then we go like, okay, sure. We're going to Purrely and go into Noir. And then we're going to do it again. So it doesn't really matter if you get Gamut or Ghost Spelled. The only thing that matters is it matters if you don't have Purrely, but if you have Purrely, then it doesn't, you're going to do the same thing either way, except this turn, let's say they game it or ash, we just draw two, which is going to be another Purrleap and a triple tactics, which is great. Now we have two bounces when they special summon a monster, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 materials on Noir, which means we have, what's it called? One free activation of the shuffle, as well as we're gaining 2100, and he's in defense position, so that makes a 4900 defense ex-Purrely Noir. Very little can get over 4900 defense. He's also unaffected by activated effects, and this guy is basically just here to just as an extra thing. Really, the main thing is here. We did not open Rivalry or anything, but let's say we did draw the 4 cards, then we'd have just follow up for next turn if they get rid of our field spell, if we have a way to get into Purrely, we have everything, and we're going to summon Purrely back if they do get rid of our Noir. But that's basically what the deck aims to do. It basically puts a thing up that is unaffected, draws you cards, has a bunch of effects, because Noir at this point has the effect of attacking one more time, attaching, and then draw 2 during your opponent's standby phase. Now, people keep saying, like, oh, draw 3 every turn, but most likely you're not going to get to draw 3 every turn. It's either going to be 1 or 2. But still, that's pretty good. It's not the worst. It's not bad at all by any stretch of the imagination. I think I will do another test hand. I won't do the pile shuffle, but I will do just a normal, like, regular shuffle. Just to show you guys another variation of what you can do. And this time we're going to play it going second. Because let's say we were going first for that. Let's then 1, 2, is this going to be the exact same? No, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here we have less options than I would like, but we still have options. So here we're going to normal summon Purrely. Because we have very little to go off of, I am actually going to still go for the Stray Street, just because if they interrupt our Purrely, we're kind of screwed. So I'm just going to go into Stray Street, activate Stray Street, and then we're going to go off. So we activate this, we'll make it so the Stray Street can't be destroyed by battle, and we're going to send Purrely and summon a Purrely. Now, the other option that I could have done is go for My Friend and ensure that I had a way to get into Plump later on. Oh no, we're looking for Purrely. Ensure that we had a way to Plump or any of the other things later on. But as it stands, I think the field spell is the better play because we have so many Purrely quick plays. There's no way we don't get another one. And we do have one other Purrely in the deck, so if we don't get another one, that's just going to be rough. But with the targeting protection, with the Droll, I think we'll be fine. So we have, there we go, Sleepy Memory. We have Rivalry, and we have this. So let's go for Sleepy Memory, pitch the thing, and for first effect damage we won't get. And remember, we do have the Purrely thing to attach from Grave. Purrely. So these two are supposed to be in defense, and then we cut. And we look at the top 3. Purrleap, Pretty Memory, and Warlord. So, with this, we're going to go into Happiness. And we are going to go into Beauty. Now, this is sort of a suboptimal board. We kind of bricked. We only had one Purrely card, but we have a negate. We have a way to get rid of quick play spells, and we also have a sleepy memory attachment. So we can draw one card during our opponent's turn, which is going to be a delicious memory. That would have been fantastic. But we do have the droll to slow them down, and we have a delicious memory for next turn and a Purrely on field, as well as a negate. So this is like the suboptimal hand, right? Like this is the worst of the worst, and it's still not that bad. It still has pretty good stuff in there. But that's going to be it for the test hands. Now I'm going to go over string of the deck is makes this thing with a bunch of effects, with a bunch of attack, with a bunch of everything, right? It's just a really good card. And it also has the option to go into different little guys. So we have beauty, we have plump, and we have happiness. As well as on turn one, basically the other option is this. So you usually have, whether you go for Ensemble Blue Robin or one of these, or two of these even, is going to depend solely on what you have in your hand and how much you want to load up on Noir. So if you want to go all out on Noir and say you have your rivalry and you go like, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to rivalry. They can't get rid of my Noir. I'm going to get an anti-kaiju. It's going to be great. So what you do is if you do have the rivalry, if you do have a way to protect against kaijus, because everyone and their mother is going to be playing kaijus, Santa Claus, whatnot, whatever, you are going to, if you want, you can load up on Noir, or you can like spread out sideways, right? You can either go for a beauty if you have a pretty memory, or if you have a Purrely and a pretty memory engraved. You can go for plump just to end a few sets quick play spells, which is pretty unrealistic, but it's still a thing, to be able to banish as a quick effect your opponent's monsters. And you just have Noir, or you could just load up on Noir and go for happiness is mostly going second card, but you can still do it if your opponent's playing a spell trap deck. You can just make happiness, put a bunch of quick play spells on the field, and then bounce all their trap cards when they're doing while they do it, right? Or if you don't want to, if you have no quick play spells in card or no Purrelys in your grave, Purrelys on the field, you can just go for Literalist Ensemble Blue Robin, and it gives you a little bit of a little bit of not having to use Noir shuffle back effect on some Blue Robin, right? Then we have the main deck strategies. So when you use Purrleap, when you attach Sleepy Memory over Delicious Memory, and what to discard, right? So let's get out the different cards that we have. We have Sleepy Memory, we have Purrleap, we have Pretty Memory, we have Purrely, My Friend Purrely, and Delicious Memory. Okay, so basically, what your game plan is going to depend whether on what you want. If you think like, yeah, my hand traps are going to be like super good, we're going to do whatever, then you can load up on the Sleepy Memory strategy, which is draw a bunch of cards, right? Draw the 3 off Plump, draw the 3 off Noir, or just draw the 3 off Noir. It doesn't really matter. It does matter, but if you have the Purrleap, then great, go for the 3 off Plump, or if you don't, then just go for 3 off Noir. That's if you already have a hand trap in hand, if you already have some sort of interruption, or if you think, yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna need anything else. Noir is just going to get me through it. But if you don't think that's the case, then you can try to protect your Noir with Delicious Memory, which just raises attack by a bunch. Usually, I don't think that's really the play, because your Noir is probably going to be around like 4,000, probably 5,000 defense when you get to it. So I think the Sleepy Memory is just overall good. Try to draw a hand trap, try to draw extension the next turn. And what to equip with the Purrely. So with the Purrely, it really depends going second or going first. If you're going first, I'd say go for Plump or Beauty. I'd say go if I'd say usually go for plump turn one, but turn two, it can vary a lot depending on what your opponent has. Whether you have floodgates, whether your opponent has a monster that's difficult to deal with. What you can do is you have your three different Xyz monsters, right? We have plump, we have happiness, and we have beauty. Say so these are all going to have their corresponding little spell cards. So Sleepy Memory doesn't really have one right now, but Pretty Memory, Delicious Memory is Plump, Pretty Memory is Beauty, and I don't have Happy Memory here. Let's get it. Happy Memory is Happiness. So, Plump is going to be your option when your opponent has things that either can't be targeted or a troublesome monster that you need to deal with. So say something that's really big or really just annoying. Then this non-targeting banishes them from the field. So say something like Crusadia Aeramax, you can get rid of that, and then it will lose its attack gain and shuffle because it wasn't properly link summoned. It was summoned from the extra deck, or it was summoned from the banish zone. Then happiness is if your opponent has some sort of troublesome floodgate like goes in match, and they goes and matched you on your Purrely. If you summon Purrely, then you're kind of screwed because there's no really dark thing that you can go into right now. There's no Noir, mini Noir. Although there will be after Nexus, Duelist Nexus. And then Beauty is something if you can target your opponent or if you want to steal something, right? If you want to, like, say you have Beauty out and your opponent forgot to goes in and then they goes in, right? You're stuck into waters. What you can do is you can use your Purrely Pretty Memory to steal it. Another thing is if your opponent has really no protection, it's just a lot of big guys, you can just use Happy Memory and Happiness to have their attack and then go over them and then add stuff and then go into Noir later and make it so you don't really need to do anything. Then let's go into the continuous and the field spell. So the field spell is really good because it's protection, but so you really usually want to go into it as soon as possible. But it is also sort of a toolbox for the quick play spells that you have. Say you already have 2 or 3 sleepy memory. Let's say you already have 3 sleepy memory in your what's it called, in your hand. For some reason, what you can do is you can equip a delicious memory. You can equip a pretty memory just to make it so you can have other effects on your monster. It's really just a toolbox for the different things that you have, and also recursion for when your Xyz monsters get destroyed or dealt with. Then we have My Friend Purrely. My Friend Purrely is another toolbox. You can basically search anything in your deck early game. Later game, it's more of a like luck of the draw type thing, but it's also recursion, which is really good. I'd say prioritize setting up these two over the draw, but that's just my opinion. I think these two are just really good cards, especially the field spell. The field spell is nutty. But yeah, that's basically my recommendations for playing the deck. Now let's go into how to play against the deck. So first, let's go over how to play with Purrely. So as you saw, the main thing of the deck is makes this thing with a bunch of effects, with a bunch of attack, with a bunch of everything, right? It's just a really good card. And it also has the option to go into different little guys. So we have Beauty, we have Plump, and we have Happiness. As well as on turn 1, basically the other option is this. So you usually have, whether you go for Ensemble Blue Robin or one of these, or 2 of these even, is going to depend solely on what you have in your hand and how much you want to load up on Noir. So if you want to go all out on Noir and say you have your Rivalry and you go like, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to Rivalry, they can't get rid of my Noir. I'm going to get an anti-Kaiju. It's going to be great. So what you do is if you do have the rivalry, if you do have a way to protect against kaijus, because everyone and their mother is going to be playing kaijus, Santa Claus, whatnot, whatever. You are going to, if you want, you can load up on Noir, or you can like spread out sideways, right? You can either go for a beauty if you have a pretty memory, or if you have a Purrely and a pretty memory engraved. You can go for plump just to end a few sets quick play spells, which is pretty unrealistic, but it's still a thing. To be able to banish as a quick effect your opponent's monsters, and you just have no, or you could just load up on Noir and go for happiness. Is mostly going second card, but you can still do it if your opponent's playing a spell trap deck. You can just make happiness, put a bunch of quick play spells on the field, and then bounce all their trap cards when they're doing while they do it, right? Or if you don't want to, if you have no quick play spells in card or no Purrelys in your grave, Purrelys on the field, you can just go for Literalist Ensemble Blue Robin, and it gives you a little bit of a little bit of not having to use Noir Shuffle Back effect on some Blue Robin, right? Then we have the main deck strategies. So when you use Purleap, when you attach Sleepy Memory over Delicious Memory, and what to discard, right? So we have, let's get out the different cards that we have. We have Sleepy Memory, we have Purleap, we have Pretty Memory, we have Purrely, Purrely, My Friend Purrely, and Delicious Memory. Okay, so basically, what your game plan is going to depend whether on what you want. If you think like, yeah, my hand traps are going to be like super good, we're going to do whatever, then you can load up on the Sleepy Memory strategy, which is draw a bunch of cards, right? Draw the 3 off Plump, draw the 3 off Noir, or just draw the 3 off Noir. It doesn't really matter. It does matter, but if you have the Purrleap, then great, go for the 3 off Plump, or if you don't, then just go for 3 off Noir. That's if you already have a hand trap in hand, if you already have some sort of interruption, or if you think, yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna need anything else. Noir is just gonna get me through it. But if you don't think that's the case, then you can try to protect your Noir with Delicious Memory, which just raises attack by a bunch. Usually, I don't think that's really the play, because your Noir is probably going to be around like 4,000, probably 5,000 defense when you get to it. So I think the Sleepy Memory is just overall good. Try to draw a hand trap, try to draw extension the next turn. And what to equip with the Purrely. So with the Purrely, it really depends going second or going first. If you're going first, I'd say go for Plump or Beauty. I'd say I'd say usually go for Plump turn 1, but turn 2, it can vary a lot depending on what your opponent has, whether you have floodgates, whether your opponent has a monster that's difficult to deal with. What you can do is you have your 3 different Xyz monsters, right? We have Plump, we have Happiness, and we have Beauty. So these are all going to have their corresponding little spell cards. So Sleepy Memory doesn't really have one right now, but Pretty Memory, Delicious Memory is Plump, Pretty Memory is Beauty, and I don't have Happy Memory here. Let's get it. Happy Memory is Happiness. So, Plump is going to be your option when your opponent has things that either can't be targeted or a troublesome monster that you need to deal with. So say something that's really big or really just, annoying. Then this non-targeting banishes them from the field. So say something like Crusadia Aeramax, you can get rid of that, and then it will lose its attack gain and shuffle because it wasn't properly link summoned. It was summoned from the extra deck, or it was summoned from the banish zone. Then happiness is if your opponent has some sort of troublesome floodgate like goes in match, and they goes and matched you on your Purrely. If you summon Purrely, then you're kind of screwed because there's no really dark thing that you can go into right now. There's no Noir, mini Noir although there will be after Nexus, Duelist Nexus. And then beauty is something if you can target your opponent or if you want to steal something, right? If you want to, like, say you have beauty out and your opponent forgot to goes in and then they goes in, right? You're stuck into waters. What you can do is you can use your Purrely Pretty Memory to steal it. Another thing is if your opponent has really no protection, it's just a lot of big guys, you can just use Happy Memory and Happiness to have their attack and then go over them and then add stuff and then go into Noir later and make it so you don't really need to do anything. Then let's go into the continuous and the field spell. So the field spell is really good because it's protection, but so you really usually want to go into it as soon as possible. But it is also sort of a toolbox for the quick play spells that you have. Say you already have 2 or 3 sleepy memory. Let's say you already have 3 sleepy memory in your, what's it called? In your hand. For some reason, what you can do is you can equip a delicious memory. You can equip a pretty memory just to make it so you can have other effects on your monster. It's really just a toolbox for the different things that you have, and also recursion for when your Xyz monsters get destroyed or dealt with. Then we have My Friend Purrely. My Friend Purrely is another toolbox. You can basically search anything in your deck early game. Later game, it's more of a like luck of the draw type thing, but it's also recursion, which is really good. I'd say prioritize setting up these two over the draw, but that's just my opinion. I think these two are just really good cards, especially the field spell. The field spell is nutty. But yeah, that's basically my recommendations for. Guys, look, Ava made a fort. Ava made a fort. I have no idea how she got in here, but she's in there. And she's having the time of her life. Right, kitty? Right, kitty? Yeah.